Putting people first is paramount, you know.
But I see so many junior leaders that still believe, you can clearly see it, they still believe the biggest value they bring is fixing someone.
You have to trust your team. You're employing somebody to do the job. Don't get in their way. You know, get them in, give them the tools they need, and get out of the way. You have to step out of the way of that person.
Scale Up, the podcast for driving growth in your MSP, delivered by industry experts. Daryl, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So my name's Daryl Fuller. I'm the CEO of IT Vet, which is a managed services provider. Started out the company 18 years ago with my co-director and co-founder, Richard Fountain. Used to work in the technology industry. I'm an IT engineer. I'm an engineer through and through. And all started out for me working in the city, a couple of MSPs. Realized that things weren't being really done right, and I realized that, you know what, I think I can do this better. I mean, that's probably me and my the confidence level. I was like, no, I can definitely do this better. But there was a lot of things going on with regards to lack of customer service, lack of caring, and I was like, this isn't right, and we really need, there's a better way. There must be a better way. So spoke to Richard, who I'd worked with for many years prior, in another world, working in the white goods industry, and cookers, freezers, washing machines, very, very different to the tech industry. Just plenty of conversations with Richard, talking over what I wanted to do. I was like, you know what, I really think I want to go off and start my own business. And he's always ran his own companies as well and had his own businesses. So he was like, well, yeah, should we have a chat? Plenty of conversations later, and we decided to form the company. And 18 years later, here we are. Yes.
Okay, great. And Tommy, you decided to jump on this buzz, then you jumped off it and you jumped it back on it.
Yeah.
So you're a glutton for punishment. So a little bit about you.
Yeah, so I think that this is my first corporate job really when I was 18, 19. So it was, before that I was working in retail, some Apple Electronics. I mean, we all remember that, right?
Yeah.
I was literally behind the counter there. People come in, sell them the light bulbs and the diodes and all the fuses and stuff. They can come in literally and they'd say, I want F146, and I'd have it all memorized and all around. Wow. So, going from a retail, between 16 and 18 and looking for that career, that corporate job, done a bit of IT in college, understand the business world a little bit, dabbled in web and things like that. And it just, I happened to come across an ad for IT Vet, and, I was in the area. I literally posted my CV through the door, and, obviously, I then went away, which we'll cover, I'm sure, later. Done a bit of production for the likes of the BBC and global radio, and come back. And missed tech, missed the company. The guys are just so great. So now in a position as the business development director, looking to strategically move this business forward. So it's a great journey.
Great. So I've got you guys on board after a conversation at a conference. Stood at the side of a stall. We had a great conversation, and I was like, the audience needs to hear some of this conversation. So we talk a lot about it, but I think a lot of people talk about it in the MSP space. About the people. A lot of people firmly believe that it's about the people. We're providing people services, so we should have the right people and the right structure behind that. But I think a lot of people struggle with, okay, I've heard this. How do I actually do this? How do I actually make this happen? Because it's not easy. I remember back in my day, I used to talk about, we got the MSP to about 60 people, and I used to say, I used to have 50 kids on that team. Like it was like being a real Father Christmas dad to 50 people.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was a mess with 50 people. Interested to the IT Vet journey. It's gone to 18 years,
Yep.
Grew
Yep.
considerably. There must be some great parts there about how the people's journey changed.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. And it's funny you mentioned the sort of kids thing, it does feel like a little bit like that. And it certainly did in the early days. You think like, you're trying to herd cats sometimes, there's so much going on. There's, you're trying to be something for everyone, as well as a leader. I think it's, we're on a journey, ourselves. And I think that learning,
as you said, you're an IT person. No one said you was going to have to do this.
No one told me how to be a manager / leader / anything else other than I know how to fix stuff. I know how to troubleshoot things, and which is what I loved and I was passionate about. But that learning, I think, is really important. And if you understand that yourself you need to learn, then equally everyone in your employ you need to help them to learn as well. You need to help them to grow, because we're all on that journey together. And I think that's the thing, is that sort of joint growth and journey for us and the team. But yeah, it's really difficult. It's really hard. It's not been easy. I don't profess, anyone listening to the show as well will know, you've ran an MSP as well to a sizable, number of people. It's not easy. It's really, really hard. But putting people first is paramount.
Yeah.
I don't think you could get to the size that we are if we didn't. I genuinely don't think that. I don't think we could. Without going an M&A route or something else, I think actually investing in our people, I think, is what's got us to the place where we are today.
I think when I joined, originally, I mean, back in 2009 and 10, so long ago, there was about 10 of us in the office, in this glass office building on a busy road in Bishop Stortford. It was, you worked so closely with the teams because there was one person in each department.
Yeah, everyone knew everyone. Everyone knew what was going on.
Yeah, and then obviously, when I come back and it grown into a sizable company, there was process, there was, there was teams, there was automation, there was, it was excitement, and it was great to see how quickly that had grown. But we still kept that, passion for our people. It's so important.
Yeah. So there's a couple of little nuggets there, but one I want to talk about first is people first. I hear this lots. We're in Halo today. They talk about it lots. Yeah. But I think it's a little bit like a title that could mean all sorts of things. Like when someone says to me, we've got a dispatcher or a coordinator for the service desk, that role can be so many different things. And I think when people say people first, people go, well, what does that mean? Does that just mean when they ask for a holiday, I give them a holiday? Or does that just mean, well, when they ask for a pay rise, I must have to give them a pay rise? What does people first mean for you now that you've been through this journey?
So people first, I guess in the sort of the easiest way to think about it is investing in that person and actually putting that person first, making it person centered. What are they good at? What are their strengths? Let's not worry about weaknesses. Let's appeal to their strengths. I talk about putting players on the pitch. I've mentioned that to you before, and making sure the right person's in the right position. You've got to look for that as a leader. You've got to find out, what is this person really good at, and where are they going to flourish, and where are they going to do well, and what can I do to help them get there? That's the key thing. So you're putting that person first. You're actually saying, what training do they need? What pathway, am I going to create? I mean, some people carve their own pathways, right? Yeah. But sometimes as leaders, lots of times as leaders, we have to just say to that person, do you know what? I think you'd be really good at this. Fancy giving it a go. Fancy trying it.
It's a great example is our senior leadership, isn't it? Every single person in our senior leadership team, they come in to do something other than what they're doing now. And they've gone through the business, they've done multiple jobs, and they found their niche, and they found what they're good at.
Absolutely. And
I think it's so important just to encourage that, because you can bring someone in, can't you? And you can just say, right, well, that's where you are, and you're not moving. So I think it's so important to give them that freedom. And that's we're very good at that.
Yeah, because when you match the persona and the character and the talents to the thing that they enjoy, you get energy.
Great things can happen.
If people like going to work and they like their role and they get energy from doing that role, well, they'll do more in that role, and you'll get more from them because they are actually enjoying it. But where if you put somebody into a role, maybe they're not a process or a tasking person, you put them on tier one, they're going to just drown. They're going to hate it. They're going to hate the barriers where that person could probably fit somewhere else. Yeah. And EOS talks about that, about right people, right seat, and have you actually looked at the structure, and are they the wrong person completely, or are they just in the wrong seat? Which is what you're talking about the playing field.
Yeah, that's right. And the other thing as well is, if you're a fast growing company, you need agility, right? You need to be dynamic. You're relying on those people to go over and above and do more than just their 9 to 5 and their day job. Because if you're growing, you have got all sorts of challenges that you're facing as a business. So having the right attitude, the right cultural values, making sure that person aligns. I mean, that's what I'm not talking about, but getting the right people in as well initially is really important. But when they align, great things can happen, and you will expect more of that person. But guess what? That person will be willing to give more, because it's a two-way thing. It's you giving them, showing them respect, saying, I care about you. I genuinely care about you. I want you to do well. If you as a leader show them that, you will get incredible things out of that person. And it's being genuine as well. It's not you're doing it just because it's a tick box. Oh yeah, we're people first. Oh yeah, customer service is right up the top of our tree. It's not about that. It's actually genuinely saying, I care about every single person in the organization. I care about them doing well. I want them to do well. I want to make sure they're in the right seat. I want to make sure they've got the tools to do the job, and another thing as well is talking about that agility is change. All growing businesses are facing change daily. If you're growing,
especially IT businesses,
cybersecurity, AI now. I mean, it's moving so fast. It moves at a rate of knots. So what do you then need? You need people who are able to adapt to change. How do you get people who are able to adapt to change? Well, they've got to have a good culture and they've got to have a good attitude, and they've got to feel like you're empowering them. You're listening to them. You're giving them the why you're doing something. You're not just going, well, today we've got a new system. There you go, guys, use that. And then suddenly they're going, I've not been shown how to use it. No one told me we were going to be using it. Why are we using this thing? What was wrong with the old one? It worked perfectly. So that is really important as well, is being able to grow a company and have that agility. You need to put your people first.
And it needs to roll into your daily life. From what I've seen of good leaders, they will spend 95% of the time with the people.
Yeah.
And what I see a lot of MSPs doing is those leaders are actually doing the do. Yeah. They are doing finance runs, they're doing POs, they're doing purchasing, they're signing off orders and helping sales to do certain things. Where actually they should be empowering the people by working with the people.
Yes, working on the business and not in the business, as we know everyone said and repeated a lot of times. And it's so true, because it's difficult as a leader, because you start off, we always talk about these many hats, and like Tommy said it, our SLT team, our directors, have all worn, I can't even count how many hats you've worn. I mean, Tommy's come from service desk management, used to do our website and a bit of social media for us and marketing. So it's kind of like, having that multiple hats, I think, that you're wearing as a leader. You get to the point that you go, actually, look, what am I good at? Yeah. Where should I get somebody to do this thing? And you probably should.
Well, like you were just saying, but I think it's really important for the leaders to have experienced the departments and, not necessarily worked in them, but it's to get close to them, understand them, really, because, any great leader, we say all the time, don't we? The people underneath you should always know more than you. You should empower them to do that and always make decisions, things like that. Because I think, understanding their roles, their remit, so you can support them is so important. So it's paramount.
Yeah, I think in Japanese banks, I think someone once told me that to become the CEO of a Japanese bank, you have to have worked in every department. And I think that's just so important to understand that. You have to have the understanding of the business. You have to have an understanding of the challenges that people are facing so that you can suggest solutions and come up with ideas. But back to the working on the business, I think what we're saying here is it's working, say, on the people. Sounds a bit bad, but it is. It is. It's your focus should be your people.
When do you think that changed for you? When you think about the 10 people that were in the glass cage versus to where you are now, what sort of size do you think you started to think about this? Or was it just something you had to start thinking about?
No, it's a really good question. And honestly, it wasn't something day one ever came into my mind. Honestly, I mean, I knew how to have fun, and we knew how to have a beer after work.
Yeah,
right?
well, you're in London. That's what everyone does.
Exactly. Let's face it, Thursdays are the new Friday, right?
Yeah.
I remember at 4:00 in the office, you'd hear the bottle jingle.
Yeah.
Because someone, Richard or me, had gone to the fridge and would go, here you go, guys, still taking a couple of support calls. It was only one beer. Most of us were driving anyway. But I think it was definitely not the first thing. I'll be honest. Yes, I feel like we've always had fun, and we've always made sure that is definitely part of our mantra, is work hard, play hard. And that's a bit of a cliche, but you have to have fun. You have to enjoy the company you're in, the people you're with. You spend more time with your work colleagues than you do your family. So we had fun. We have loads of socials. We go out. So that was a big part of it. But I think, it wasn't something straight away that we was like, what, we have to put our people first. We have to focus on people. And honestly, I think probably COVID was a huge sort of, maybe a wake up call, I guess.
I mean, even before that, I think even when we rebranded our HR team as Wellbeing.
Yeah.
And it just immediately showcased that we were all about people, and then we started to form departments like the compliance team and things like that, where these departments are, they're needed, and I don't want to say that we were kind of pushed by our customers, but we do business with some very large businesses. We've been very lucky, and I think some of it, it not an afterthought, but I think it's always been that people first. I think that well-being is such a big thing. When we get teammates coming now and going, "Wow, I can't believe you've got a well-being team." They actually care. You can sit down with you guys and actually talk about just me. We sit down and just to understand how they're doing as a person. I think that was the key driver for me, and that was way before COVID.
I think it's great that you have a HR well-being structure, because actually most businesses don't have that. Even certain big businesses that I know of, MSPs, don't have that HR wellbeing function. If they do have it, it's an outsourced function that is just there from a legal presence.
Yes.
When someone tells me this, what do I say to them?
Correct.
What does the contract say? What does the handbook say? No one's actually going, what's this person look like?
But that's very reactive, I think, and that's reacting to a situation, and you have to do that in business, of course. And you might be, okay, I've got a problem with Bob, there's an issue here, what do I do, Mr. HR consultant or external, whoever was, you just chat GPT it now, and I'll ask them and they'll tell us, right? But I think what Tommy's saying there is, I think it was prior to COVID, but I think what happened was, at that point, I think it was a real wake up call for us, is about caring about our team. I think
trust
and building trust, definitely. I think everyone was forced at that point to go and work from home. That was it, and we did it very early. I must admit, we kicked in to everyone working from home really early. We was like, right, that's it. We've got to go. We know this is coming. We know this is happening. Are we prepared? Thankfully, we were. I mean, most of us were working from laptops at the time, had decent enough connectivity. We certainly had VPNs and everything else into the office. So we were good, and we was like, right, that's it. Because we cared about our people. It was like, we've got to do this to protect our teammates. So then what happens is, obviously, you're now forced into, you really need to trust people, because just because they're not there in front of you, you're seeing them working, you have to trust that they're working. Obviously, you have to have measurements, and you have to have tools in place to measure productivity and output. But that forced, I think, the hand of a lot of companies. So I wouldn't say it forced ours, but I think it probably reaffirmed maybe already what we were doing, I think, with the wellbeing side, like Tommy was talking about. And on that, we put the word wellbeing in front of HR on a purpose. He's literally our wellbeing and HR team. They are there. We do regularly check-ins with teammates, making sure they're okay, making sure everything they need is really, really important. But I think COVID was another thing that just reaffirmed what we were doing was the right thing. Yeah.
You mentioned about the power of knowing each functional area in the business. And I believe in that as well. I mean, my first job was actually in a bakery as an apprentice, and I went around the whole bakery before I became a manager. And you then know the impacts and outputs of each department, how they structure together. I think a lot of problems, though, with an MSP, especially the owner, and I put myself in this pot as well, is I then want to learn even more about that role. So, I'm not just skimming the surface. I'm going into that role and understanding it to the nth degree.
Yeah.
How do you stop that? Now you know a little bit about the role that they do on service. How do I stop you from going interfering with service?
I think it's so important that they want to learn more. I think it's good, and that's a great employee or a great teammate to have, because they come in and obviously we're employing them to come into a certain department. We started this thing recently where whether you're coming in as an account manager or you're coming in as a service desk agent or in the project team, they will sit with departments for 2 weeks at a time to understand their roles and remits and what they do, so they can put themselves in them shoes. Like Daryl said earlier, that I started in service. I started answering the phones, then I went away up to service desk management and leading the teams, and then over to account management and so on and so on. So when I go and see customers and talk to them, I've had my I can emphasize I have empathy for them and really understand what they're going through. So I think for them wanting to know more is great, because they might come in and they might want to pivot, and I think that's okay, and I think that's something that a good business model allows.
So that's people on the team, but how do you stop a leader from getting
too involved
into the weeds because he does know? What happens with a lot of MSP owners, we've said already, that they're technical minded, they're technically driven, they're technically able, because that's where they started, and so they start to dig into things that really they're overstepping the mark on.
Yeah.
They've got a service desk manager And when they've got an issue, they go direct to the tier 1 person, and they're undercutting that leader and massively
Correct.
underdoing the leadership structure,
Yeah.
just because they know,
Yeah.
or because they want to know.
It's hard, Darren. It's difficult. You have to kind of like.
Even you would go like, oh, I just want to get into that.
Absolutely. P1 chats, listen, I've probably, and bearing in mind, we're over 120 strong and, we're a decent size. I would say only the last couple of years, maybe I've not been getting involved in P1 chats.
You've actually started taking holidays, haven't you?
I've actually started taking holidays as well, Tommy. Yeah, correct. No, honestly,
Vision.
that's the dream, right? But honestly, I think you're right. It's really hard, and it takes a huge amount of restraint, and you need yourself to. It's trust. Excuse me. It's back to that thing we talk about. It's trust. You have to trust your team. You're employing somebody to do the job. Don't get in their way. Get them in, give them the tools they need, and get out the way. You have to step out of the way of that person. And look, it might not be perfect. Okay, we touched on this earlier. Funny enough, prior to us recording, we was talking about perfection. Leaders, we're always striving for perfection, and we're always going to go, what's the root cause analysis?
You can do it better.
Yeah. Oh, well, that as well. Yeah, unfortunately, and we do feel that. But I'll tell you what.
Why shouldn't I do it?
Yeah, but hold on. I will say there's a caveat to that, because technology moves extremely quickly. And look, I do everything to keep myself up to date, up to speed with technology and how it's moving, how it's evolving. But I'm no way going to be able to do it as good as my guys.
That's what you employ them for.
Exactly.
Yes.
I am no way going to be able to do it as good as them. I come in now with my old school troubleshooting tips of, it must be the VLAN this, and it must be the port's not tagged. And they're like, Daryl.
It's not 1991.
I kind of drop in a few things. They're like, Daryl, it's not that. We've gone past that problem now. So it takes a huge amount of restraint and trust in your people, get out of their way, put some KPIs in place, put some monitoring, have actual some numbers and something to measure the output, the performance, talk to them about the things that happen in their team, raise your concerns, the things with them, but do it in a proactive space and not a reactive space. Don't jump in. When it's happening, let the dust settle. Afterwards, find out what could we have done better.
Deal with it, report on it later.
Absolutely.
I think that's the key, isn't it, for me? What I see in the industry is we're not good at setting out what good looks like. So people don't have a role profile stroke job description. And I see this even more in the management team, because you've worked with someone like Tommy for how long? So when you promote him, don't really need to write him a job description. Surely he just knows what he's been promoted to.
Yeah.
But then you also don't have a scorecard or a KPI card.
Absolutely.
And so you've no vision of, is this working? And what you need is something to satisfy your hunger, which is these numbers, these colours, that's good.
That's good.
Or I can ask a question. But if you don't have that vision and you don't set out what good looks like, you're constantly interfering.
No, I think you've touched on something there. You didn't say the word. I thought you was going to say it, but training.
Yeah.
It is huge. I mean, measurements are great, but when you talk about promoting someone into that position, like, oh, you must know what you need to do. The problem is with that is managers have never been taught how to manage. It is one of the biggest problems that companies will face. And it is touching all of these things. It's KPIs, it's monitoring, it's having the right measurements, having the trust in place. Is it green? Is it good? Does the scorecard look good? But you've never trained that person on how to manage. They become a manager usually incidentally because they're really good at doing the thing.
Yeah, they're good at technical.
They're good at technical. Right, you're great at doing that. But are they great at showing others how to do it? Because that's how their job has now changed. Their job has now shifted massively. I've gone through that leadership journey. I'm sure you have as well. And so has Tommy. Because, we have to say, right, well, I'm not doing the thing anymore. I'm now showing these guys how to do the thing. And then guess what? You're now focusing on people. Yeah. You now have managers. Yes, they're looking at stats, they're looking at numbers, but they're looking at, how's Bob doing? Is he okay? Why is his numbers tipped off? What's happening?
Yeah. But I see so many junior leaders that still believe, you can clearly see it, they still believe the biggest value they bring is fixing someone.
Really isn't.
Because no one's communicated to them that the biggest value you now bring is leading these people.
Absolutely. Well, I can give an example of this. There's a small story here. I love telling a story. Sorry. If you've got time, we're all good for time.
Go for it.
So I saw an example of this really poor management and leadership style. I went to, I had a business meeting in London and I went to the Costa Coffee at the station and I walked in, ordered my double espresso, as you do. So I walked up to the counter. There's like 4 people around each till. There's like a till inside serving the people inside, and there's a couple of tills serving the people in the actual shop. And there's this manager, which I can assume would be the manager in the middle of that sort of till area, and there's 4 people around him, and I was like, yeah, double espresso please, and the girl's like, yeah, no problem, she's got my order, and he's literally just barking orders at people. He's just shouting there, control, right, you're doing it, yeah, there's a double espresso over there, there's a this here, there's a that, and it's like, she clearly had got my order, she knew what it was, she told the guy making the coffees it's a double espresso, and he's like, that's a double espresso. And I'm like, it was just such a poor it's a really good example of poor leadership and poor management, because there he was thinking he's adding value. He needs to just get out of the way. They all knew what they were doing. They all was absolutely fine serving, taking coffee orders, making coffees, and giving it to the clients. But yeah, it's a really good example. You have to have trust in the team. Train them, make sure they know what they're doing. Clear expectations of that person as well. Get out of the way. Let them go. Tell them what good looks like. Tell them what you're expecting. Be very clear with that. If they're not meeting it, obviously have a chat with them and see why they're not.
And let them know that you're here for escalation. And you make sure that line of communication is always open. I think that's key, isn't it?
Yeah, I think this is, company culture. I think for me, it's not beers on a Friday. It's not having a pool table in the office, although it's great. And it's like, we've got one too. We had a table. Well, we got rid of the pool table. We've got a tennis table, but it is that.
It's the dark side.
It is that. Yeah, table. Yeah, absolutely. But no, I think it's about training people. It's about setting them up to do their job effectively with the right tools, with the right support. Like Tommy said, it's so important. You're there to help when needed, but give them clear expectations. Carve out some pathways. If they maybe have got skills that will do better in another area of the business, then that's your job as a leader to look at and go, do you know what? I think you'll be really good at this. That is building a positive culture inside your company.
So talked a little bit about promotions, a little bit about how you bringing somebody in, but we've not really dug into it. What do you think in your journey? Because I'm sure, like me, you've interviewed and you hired some real pains. They kept around for a few years and causing more pains, and then eventually something happened and you did something about it. What's your journey like on bringing the right people into the business at the right time as well? But everyone's massively always constrained with cash flow. How do they get the right person for the right price?
Yeah, recruitment, I think, was one of the things in our journey that we've always, Richard and I have always been the people who have always been reviewing CVs. We've always employed people, and it's always been like us making that decision and saying, right, yeah, we're going to make sure. I think I've got a very good skill at reading CVs now. Obviously after seeing thousands in my career, and the other thing just to touch on there as well, as any business owner will know, you are just a recruitment company. Just putting it out there, whether you do technical, whether you do software, whether you do IT support, it doesn't matter. You're a recruitment company, because that's what you are doing. You are recruiting people. That function is so important, hence why Rich and I have always retained that and always kept hold of that. It's now been delegated. We do now trust people like Tommy to employ somebody because he understands the cultural values of the business. But reading that CV, we've never ever employed someone based on their technical ability, their skill, qualification. None of it matters. It's attitude we're looking for. It's what variation they've got. Are they dynamic? Have they done different things? We talked about this earlier or yesterday, and we were saying about retail, how important that is to see that someone's worked in retail on their CV. They're coming for a technical job, but I'm looking for retail.
Yeah, my best employees were supermarket.
Yeah, I was saying to Daryl literally yesterday about this, that someone asked me to help them with their CV the other day, and they've got all their corporate jobs on there and everything. But they said, "Oh, shall I keep my retail background?"
Tesco, wasn't it?
Tesco, and so they'd gone down a little, stint in that. I said, absolutely, because them skills that you learn within retail and hospitality is just invaluable. It's so transferable. So yeah, absolutely. And I think I'd hire someone any day that's works in the hospitality industry for a corporate environment, because things they have to go through.
Yeah, I know leaders that are constantly on the move looking for employees, and that's where their key thing is. Like, they go to a restaurant, if somebody gives them really good service at a restaurant, they'll ask them, "Are you happy here? Because I really like you."
Yeah,
and they'll offer them a job there and then.
Yeah. No, and I think having that shift and that focus on getting the right people in the first place, absolutely, because you just cause yourself a problem if you then have to deal with that person and they're not the right fit, etc. As you talked about, you've got metrics in place to monitor the performance. It just might not be the right fit, and it happens. It does happen. But getting that right the first time is really, really important. So do focus on recruitment. Do focus on the team that does your recruitment. We've got an amazing person in recruitment, Laura. She speaks to those people. She has a chat with, it's such an informal approach as well, that we take with our recruitment. It's, it's a chat, it's a conversation. It's a two-way thing as well. You're interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you.
Yes.
I think, we have that approach to it. And when they do come in as well, we set them up for success. It's really important. I know we touched on it before, and we talked about, we've got a 30, 60, 90 day sort of induction period. So there's a certain, I'd say tasks, but things that we just want to make sure that they're able to do after 30 days, after 60 days, after 90 days. All those things are important to us, to make sure that person gets in, is able to do their job and get up to speed as quick as they can, because it's very frustrating for a lot of new starters. They're like, I just want to be helpful, but I can't because I don't know how to answer the phone correctly or whatever. So training is really important in those early stages. But yeah, making sure they land right, make sure the right person comes in as well, really important.
Well, like work experience as well, really big for us, isn't it? We work with all the local schools across the different offices we have, and I think it's so important to be nurturing people at that level, because I can't tell you how many people have come through the door and have come through that scheme. I think even Josh on SLT now, he started when he was 17.
I think even younger.
He come through that work experience scheme, and he was just doing bits and pieces, like just seeing customers, and helping out, doing the teas and stuff like that. And now he's a director of operations for the business, and it's incredible. So, getting them young, really important. But, equally, obviously, there's some real talent out there, people with experience, been in the industry for a long time. It's tackling both sides always.
I think that's a great point. I mean, I go on a lot about this, that a lot of people I speak to say there's a shortage in the industry. There's a shortage of talent in the industry. There's a shortage of good people that have got the talent in the industry. And I actually believe that we create that ourselves.
Yeah.
As MSPs, we create the shortage of talent. We're all going for the person that we needed 3 months ago, the person that can do the tier 2 job right now, and I want them straight away, and I'm willing to pay whatever I want. So we're all going for this knee-jerk reaction because we don't have a budget and a plan and a people plan, and we don't link all that together. So then we start to hire earlier, but we also hire more junior and nurture everybody up the ladder and move everybody up as we go. In an MSP world, a lot of people haven't got that 30, 60, 90, and then the frameworks thereafter, which means they can't hire the junior. They need someone that's going to be able to think on their feet, fix quickly, and not have a process in front of them, but still deliver good service. So they need to hire more senior and hire it yesterday.
I mean, you can add to this, but we are very good at building that boat before we need it. Really, we're always oversubscribed. I think that's really important. Those team members are there. Obviously, we know pipeline is. We understand what's coming up and our customers and our journeys and things like that. But it's making sure they're there and ready and nurtured. Yes, you can bring in juniors, but a lot of what we see is we promote within. It's so important to us. Promoting our juniors up to the seniors, and it's that bringing in juniors. And I think it's such an important way to do business.
It takes time. I mean, it does take time. It's not something you do overnight. And I think, to be fair to MSPs and us and everyone that's growing a business, it's peaks and troughs, in every business. And suddenly Tommy's going to come back to me and go, Daryl, guess what? I've got an opportunity I'm working on, and we're going to be signing X, Y, Z. And it's like, oh my God, at that point, you're like, what are we going to do? So Tommy's right. You do have to make sure that you have got a good amount of support, because the last thing we'd want to do is our customer service to suffer because we haven't got enough people on the desk.
Important for us, isn't it?
It is.
That customer service is so important.
It is. And if so you have to build it in that way. It's like, build it and they will come. You have to speculate to accumulate, right? Yeah, absolutely, you have to. Obviously, you've got to keep an eye on the margins. You've got to keep an eye on overheads. It's really important, and it's a fine line. Everyone is always juggling. But if you are building a business organically, which we are and have been all these years, it's difficult. It's challenging, absolutely. But you have to make sure you do that, and it's always about the long game. 18 years we've been doing this now, so it's not an overnight thing. I'm talking about a long time at trial and error. We've made mistakes. It happens. You do in business, but you've got to learn from those. But yeah, getting the right people in, like Tommy said, looking at, any sort of apprenticeship schemes and things like that as well is really, really good. Work experience schemes as well. We always encourage local schools to send down work experience kids, because you never know. You're going to find the next, you know,
Plus, their
operations
rates are
director.
great, aren't they? Genuinely
Really good. Yeah,
Come
some
and your way.
maybe not so. Yeah, you know, but some, yeah, they genuinely have.
But you have to be
interest.
fishing in those ponds to find the right thing.
Absolutely. So
It's getting into schools. We used to go into, well, we still do to a degree, don't we? We go into schools and we do talks and talk about business and MSPs, because, you know, MSPs is overlooked. You know, you can go and work for a bank, you can go and work in an internal IT team, but where's the nurturing there to come and work for a managed service provider? It's not there.
yeah,
Is
what
it?
is an MSP? Often they're like,
there is a
what?
gap.
Yeah,
Yeah,
correct,
there is a gap
yeah.
there in education. So
So you've got quite an interesting journey as well, Tommy, in the fact that what I heard from your journey is you came from school, you did so many years, you then went off and did BBC productions, radios, etc., because that was a buzz of yours.
yeah,
Then you come back. So the two bits I want to pick up on there. So number one is lots of business owners will not let someone back. As soon as you leave, don't come knocking. That's what they get told. They basically get told, if you leave today, you can leave, but you ain't coming back. And then the other thing is, what was your feelings of, I've just put 5 years into this person, give him a chance when he came out of school, and now he's leaving me. He's putting two fingers up and he's leaving me and going off. You know, what did you feel at that point?
I mean, to answer your first question, for me, I mean, when I first started with the business, after about maybe a year or two being there, I genuinely felt like it was second family. You know, Daryl, Richard, you know, able to nurture me. You know,
There was 10 people.
10 people. I mean, I probably before I started, I dabbled in, I did mobile DJing, I did some website design, I was working in, you know, I was doing different things, you know, kind of an entrepreneurial head on me. And I thought, well, I don't know how to move this forward, you know, and actually joining a business like IT Vet allowed me to move myself as a person forward, give me confidence, you know. So when I first put my CV through the door, I turned up about 6 o'clock and I could see in that glass kind of fishbowl, and I saw them still in there. So I was like, oh no, I've got to wait for them to go and lock up and leave. And then I posted my CV through. So there was no confidence in me that, you know, it grew, you know, thanks to IT Vet. And obviously when I went away, I had to follow my dream. As a kid, I wanted to follow a dream of being on the radio. You know, I listened to Chris Tarrant on the Foxy on the radio, right? And I was like, I've got to do that. You know, I want to be on the air. So actually, obviously, you know, my first corporate job at IT Vet, and they genuinely, when I said I've got to go and do this, I'm going to uni, going to go and study it, going to go and understand it, give me time and do work experience in all these great organisations like BBC and ITV, and they genuinely wished me well. They said, look, it's so sad to see you go because you're, you know, a great person, you know, in the organisation, but I want to see you flourish, and it'd be wrong of me to say don't follow your dream. And you know, when I'd done that 5-year stint, which was, you know, the best 5 years of my life, you know, minus the stuff I did for IT.
of course, I was going to drop that in.
But, you know, and, you know, things come to an end over there. It was very contracty. COVID was coming up, and it was 3 weeks before the pandemic hit. Then Richard and Daryl reached back out and said, Tommy, if you ever want to come back, you know, that door's always open. And genuinely within a week, I was working back at the business.
Yeah.
And just, yeah, incredible
I think he's probably you know, been a bit modest as well, because Tommy was doing incredibly well in the company. He absolutely flourished, and we could see that in him when he very first did pop his CV through the door, and we was like, who's this guy? You know. But honestly, at the time he left, I mean, I was gutted. I was absolutely gutted when he said, guys, I'm going on, I'm moving, I'm going to leave, I'm going to hand in my notice. And yeah, you go through all sorts of emotions, right? You know, at that point, you're like, I've invested this amount of time in this person. Yeah, you could be sort of frustrated. I mean, certainly I was like, I can't believe you're about to leave, when he'd gone out and single-handedly actually signed one of our biggest customers, who are still one of our biggest customers to this day, and actually sat down with them, signed them up, and he was about to leave, and he was working on another client contract as well. And yeah, I just saw it in him. He had it in him. You know, the potential that Tommy had was just, I was like, okay, but look, it's his passion. And I respect that. That was something he had to go and do. And I was behind him 110%. I said, Tommy, go and do it. Go and do it. Travel the world. You know, the world is your oyster. You know, it's not all IT vet, go off and experience what you need to. And he did. He went off and had a great time, experienced it, and brilliant, because look, it's added huge amounts of value, because now Tommy's like got all these presenting skills and things like that, that he's and confidence as well, so that he's built up. But yeah, it was difficult at the time, but you do it, your head held high, and you say, okay, fine, good luck to you, wish him very well, and our door's always open. And I think that's important in business as well. You never ever close any doors in business. You never ever burn any bridges. Anyone, you never know when you're going to see them next as well. It could be someone who's serving your burger sometime, and you might get
get some extra sauce.
You never know what type of sauce. But honestly, I think that's important in business, is that relationship. We built a meaningful relationship, and Tommy went off, did his thing, came back, and hey, here we are today. He's a director of the business.
I wouldn't be able to do what I do now if I didn't go do that. So that's the biggest takeaway. Is
not only the skills you brought back, but also that would always be a side thing in your head. What if? What if?
Exactly.
And you need to get rid of that, don't you? Sort of thing. And I think you've hit the nail on the head around what I always talk about is what I want to see in a good employee is that I give and they give as much back. If there's an equal give and return,
100%,
and the business is gaining just as much as I give, I will continue forever long. And at some point, you might decide, I want to jump off the ship. If you jump off the ship and we've got equal rights, I want to wish you complete well, and wish you on your journey, because hopefully what I've delivered to you has helped you to do that next hop. You might not be able to do that if you hadn't had that nurturing.
Correct.
So let's celebrate that rather than getting angry about the fact that you're leaving.
And I'm not the only example. We've got there's 5-6 teammates who've done very similar, where they've left, saw the light. Is the grass green on the other side? No, actually not. Kept in touch with the business.
I think you've got it even more. I don't know if these 5 or 6 people are in that link, but what I used to experience a lot of is I used to talk about the football, same analogy of the football game, but I used to talk it more about, in football, a football manager can lease a football player. He can hire them to another squad. That allows them to experience that other squad. Where if you hire somebody as an apprentice and you work them up to a certain level of 5, 6, 7 years, they've almost got this urge of, they're telling me this is a really good place at IT Vets. But what if I went somewhere else? What if it would be better? What if that next role that I'm looking for would be available today, rather than waiting for IT Vets to create that role? So often they sort of come to me and go, like, it's really good here. I really like it here, but I want to go and see something else. Because that's the only job they've ever had.
I think there's a couple of things there, and that one of them is you have to train people so they're good enough to leave. And look after them so that they don't want to.
Make them attractive to others.
You are, right? You are, but don't be afraid of it.
And it's not always about the money.
No, it's not. It really isn't. And I think, don't be afraid of investing your time in that person. And, you are building them up to be, hopefully, good leaders create leaders, right? I mean, that's what it's about. So, invest that time in that person so they're good enough to go and leave, and they will be attractive to other people, sure. And they might want to go and try it and dabble. And like you said, we can't put people out on loan, but if we did, imagine the experience and skills and everything that they would bring back into the business. So I do think that's a big part of it as well. But going back to the thing you were saying about how you can feel when that person leaves, and turning around and saying to somebody, well, that's it. If you walk out now, don't ever come back, sort of thing. I just think it's really short-sighted. And I think you getting personal. You shouldn't be personal in business. It really isn't. It's difficult to disconnect that.
It's very easy to become personal.
Absolutely. Really is easy, because emotions run high, and when somebody else said to me he's left as well, I mean, I got really emotional. I got quite teared up on the phone.
Typically it happens at the wrong time.
Always. Guaranteed.
You don't expect it. You think something.
That's right.
Really well.
Yep, that's right.
Suddenly, boom.
And you can do everything in your power, but it will happen. So don't lose sleep over it. It happens. And honestly, I have found as well that everything happens for a reason, but sometimes these things, they're not always negative. They sometimes be a positive. You might actually, if someone does move on, it opens up opportunities for other people within the business. And like we was talking about before, pathways, skills that they might have, appealing to people's skills. Give them a chance, give them a try. Say, would you like to give that a go? Yeah, okay, cool. Let's give them the tools to do the job, help them, support them. And next thing you know, you might have someone to step in that shoes.
It's funny you say that, because we've had one one colleague who's left for whatever reason, and they've actually referred their friends come
Yeah.
and actually work for us later on, like maybe a year later.
Yeah.
That just shows, doesn't it, how much they're not leaving because they don't want to work for IT Vet, because they just might need to be somewhere else. And I think that's just something good to take away, isn't it? It's rewarding to think.
Yeah, if someone can leave and then refer other people, that says you.
That tells you they've left on not under a cloud or under bad terms. But I think just going to say, I think it's about building meaningful relationships, right? Business is, and it goes through from your teammates that you've got, which we call them teammates, by the way, for a purpose. We drop the word employee, hate it, horrible. They're teammates, right? But you got teammates that you're building meaningful relationships with, and you've got your customers equally that you're building meaningful relationships with. So just like we don't burn any bridges with any teammates. Same with customers as well. They move around, in the industry that we work in as well, in the property management industry, in the retail sector. There's a huge amount of moving around. I'll say incestuous, because it is. You do have people who will go and they will take us with them. So we might lose a client. We might lose a contract because a managing agent's taken over and we're not, working with that one. But that person sometimes might move on. And then suddenly another door opens, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I used to use these guys. They're really, really good."
A customer yesterday called me up, and this lady had worked with us for about 3 or 4 years at one of our managed property clients, and she'd moved to, just a business. She started a business as a director, with there's lots. It's a growing business, really, really going to grow really quickly. And she said, "I've been tasked with finding an IT provider to outsource," and she said, "I just couldn't think of anyone else but you, because."
You're the trusted people
for so long, and it's like Daryl said, to add to it, we're all about referrals. It's about doing a good job. There's no hard sell here. It's always, doing well by the customer and being rewarded by that. It's it's our value. It always is.
So, but what I'm hearing here, and maybe some of the audience is thinking, but I don't have time for that. Like speaking to these people, speaking to these customers, building relationships, doing mentoring. I haven't got time.
Make time
for that.
Make time. It's so important. Honestly, so important.
You have to make it your number one priority, because you can go and focus on sales and marketing as much as you like, but if those clients join and don't have a good experience with your team, and your team aren't enjoying their time with you because you're not building that relationship, forget it. That client will leave as soon as they've joined.
We don't employ salespeople, and that's it.
No, we don't need to.
quality of our team, our account managers, and business development. It's about just building a relationship.
Yeah.
Someone said to one of my team the other day when they went out, they said, you're selling to me, but you don't even realise. And they just went, well, I'm just being me.
Yeah.
And I think that's so lovely to hear, isn't it? That your team are doing, that they're listening. They listen to our values and they're passing it on to our customers.
And when you say, they say they haven't got time, honestly, I think that it is this shift in being reactive to proactive. I talk about it a lot with my teams, and I'm like, guys, you have to get out of the reactive space and get into the proactive space. If you're building a company for the long term and you're investing in your business and you want your business to do well, invest in your people. Start there. Start with your people, because when you've got a problem with a client on site and there's switch is not powering on or something's going on, if that person is looked after by your company, that person will stay till past 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. The clients will see that. You'll get amazing feedback from that client. It makes business development directors' jobs a lot easier.
Of course it does.
I'm not saying you've got an easy job, Tom. Just easy. But to go out and sit in front of that client and they're saying, I've heard really good things about your company. Or when they go out for a service review, our client relationship managers, the CRMs, they go out for a service review and they're like, really good experience. You're helping me out of hours with things. We do a lot for our customers that we don't charge them for. We just do it. But and we actually had this feedback, which was amazing. Well, you actually told me it, so you might as well give it. But that feedback, you went to the client and they said everyone they speak to in the company.
Yeah, they said that how do you ensure that your teammates are so happy on the phone, and they're genuinely happy. Like, you can tell, can't you, when someone's been a little bit fake.
You can tell if someone's smiling.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
they use the term that IT Vet, the Disney of IT support, and I sort of said, no, well, you could take that 2 ways, couldn't you? But they said, no, genuinely, and I mean that in the best way possible. That when we speak to your team and have any dealings with them if they're on site, they're just so helpful when they're just so happy, and you can tell they want to be employed by you, and it's so good. And that leads somebody to sort of talk about, it's not about the wage, is it? It's not all about the wage for that employee, that teammate. It's about the perks, the benefits. I mean, we've got a teammate forum as well, so we empower them to actually speak and talk. When I used to be on the forum, I kind of
You've relinquished now.
Relinquished it because I thought wouldn't be not great me being in the position I am, but essentially, you know, they meet sometimes out of hours as well, because they genuinely want to make the company better. But it's empowering them, giving them that voice, and it's paying dividends.
I think when that client said to Tommy about that and said, like, how do you guys do it? Genuinely, like, how do you do it? You know, I'd love to speak to someone in your Wellbeing team.
Yeah.
You know, well, Tommy said it's professional services, right? And I was like, oh, nice. And then actually, when I spoke to the guys on the meeting, I jumped on one of our team meetings in the morning, and one of them turned around and said, yeah, that sounds like WAS, Wellbeing as a Service. Maybe we could package that up and sell it. And I'm like, guys, we've got enough to deal with. Let's not have any other new business ventures. But that goes, honestly, I think, you know, you don't have to sell if you genuinely love what you do, you're passionate about what you do, and the people you employ also enjoy being there. And that does bring us to say about the great places to work that we went for as well. We've basically been awarded Great Place to Work, and we got they do a survey basically to check out your company, and is everyone happy? And they give this survey to every single teammate in your organization, and 98% of people in our organization said it was a great place to work.
Wow.
And to say I was blown away by that, and I was absolutely just like, I couldn't believe it. We also won, I think we got like 11th place in medium companies in the UK. I mean, there's people like Octopus Energy and other, it's not just MSPs. But that genuinely says that what we are doing, you know, the teammates think it and they believe it. You know, they do. They're passionate about our company, and it is our company. It's all of ours. It's not mine or Richard's. It's ours. It's all of us. And that teammate forum, exactly that. You know, the teammate forum is there to empower those.
They feel so passionately about it. So I mean, I was genuinely being in it. You know, you get people going, no, but this is. If you change that, it's going to change this, and you know, I need it to work this way because, you know, I feel like I'm, you know, part of this community. You know, and
we come up with ideas and we bounce it off the team. We're like, guys, what do you think?
Then you got the buy-in.
Yeah,
straight away. You know, if they're talking about it and they're coming up with the ideas from it, they're bought into it. They're bought into the success of it.
Absolutely. There's things like that we do. We have a lot of clubs and hobbies channels as well. I mean, a lot of people might be listening to this and going, this sounds like it's going to cost me a lot of money. This sounds like it's, yes, I know they're going to be the commercial hat on, and it's going to be like, that sounds like it's a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of energy. But honestly, these things aren't. They don't take a lot of energy or effort. You can actually build something that's self-perpetuating.
Just self-run, isn't it?
That's right. They believe in it. They're running that forum. I don't know when they meet. They just give us feedback, and you know, we give them some ideas to say, what do you think about this? But we do things like we have clubs and hobbies channels.
Coffee roulette.
Oh yeah, coffee roulette.
Good, yeah.
Coffee roulette.
Yeah.
Well, the spinner roulette.
Yeah.
Or...
well, do you want to?
No, go on.
All right, okay. All right, well, so basically, the crazy idea we come up with. What we do is a lot of us are remote. We employ people, and again, putting teammates first. I know that's a kind of a bit of a contentional sort of subject, and that, and you know, people go, oh, you know, but like, look, we employ people remotely, hybrid, or in office, and they do what they want. If you want to work remotely full time, you work remotely full time. If your best work is done remotely, that's where you work. Your best work is done hybrid, or your best work is in the office, that's where you work. So we've embraced it fully, but it does have its challenges, right? Connecting the team together, events and things like that. So what we did was this coffee roulette idea we came up with is we match two teammates every month, I think it is. So you sign up first of all. If anyone wants that, we've actually automated it fully now as well, which is great. Yeah. So we're using Power Automate, and we don't touch it. It is literally built, it's developed in-house, and you sign up. Once you've signed up, your name goes in the hat. You then get matched randomly with somebody from the organization, and you have a coffee with them remotely over Teams, 15 minutes. It just goes in your calendar. You both book the time and you go, yep, that sounds good. And honestly, I mean, I'm on it. I'm part of it. I love it. It's great. I've actually got another one that's come up, which is funny enough. It matched me with the same person from the last time we were laughing about it, me and James. And I was like, oh, okay, you can tell me all about your motorcycle, because he's working on a project, and you get to, you know, invest in your people, understand your people, talk to them, you know, find out what's going on in their personal lives. This whole work-life balance thing, look, it's merged now. You know, have an interest in what they're doing.
People try and keep the personal life separate, but it doesn't work like that.
not if you're genuine, and if you do genuinely care. If you see them as an employee and as a number, fine. If you see them as a disposable asset, you can just go, yeah, well, get rid of that team, close it off, done, moving on. But if you genuinely care about them, then how can you not? Come on, how can you not? So yeah, we chat, and it's not work. It's just a chat about anything and everything. So yeah, coffee roulette we do. The clubs and hobby channel as well is created. It's for interests that people might have. There's a motorsport one, which I'm obviously a member of. We're in there. So we arrange like go-karting, we go out and do things like that. But there's just talking about the F1 or something that's going on, or people taking pictures of cars that they see, nice cars in London, whatever. There's ones to do with like cooking, gardening.
We've got music. We go and watch a show every now and then.
Yeah.
People that play musical instruments.
Yeah.
Don't bring that up.
Oh, there must be one of them, surely.
Yeah, there are. To be honest, we've got quite a few. Yeah, we're into music production. We've got a guitar, a couple of guitarists, singers. We've got in IT. We should actually start a band.
Yeah.
I think we should. So we said at the same time. There, I think we should.
You can't really be on it with the.
Can I not?
Not the instrument.
No.
That's not a band.
I used to play the tenor horn. Yes, years ago. I did say earlier before we started filming. I used to play the tenor horn. But no. I these are just it's a channel in Teams. Right click, create new channel, give it a name. Go. People can join it and chat about whatever.
Yeah, and let people own it. Let them own it.
Let them own it. And we tell all new starters about it. We're like, look, we've got these clubs and hobbies channels. Please get involved. And another thing as well is we do a lot of charitable work as well. It's big. It's huge. It really is part of our DNA at IT Vet as well. I mean, I was out myself a week or so ago helping with a local community centre, just painting myself.
You mentioned a minute ago that the people that have got the bean counters on the red, they're thinking, this is time, this is money. That's just spun into my mind. Like, these people are talking about the hobbies in hours. They're going on charity work. They're doing this and that. They're on the people thing. But I want them to do the work.
Yeah.
That's what some people are thinking. Like, I just want them to do the job that I applaud them for.
Correct. Yeah. No, you will. And it's easy to have that thought in your mind. What you're not doing is thinking long game, and you're thinking about investing in those people and building meaningful relationships in your team. So yes, you might want to just get them to do a 9 to 5, an 8 to 6, whatever their contracted hours are. What you'll get out of that teammate is their contracted hours. They'll take their time for lunch, their time for the breaks, and you will get their teams online at that time, and that's it.
Well, you see it. I mean, I go back to the retail days, and it's like retail people, they finish at 5. Or, their shifts till 4 o'clock. They're out the door, the coat's on at 10 to. They're gone, and they're not supporting their teammates. They're letting them down. They might have a rush or something. They're not supporting the clients, the customers, the teammates themselves. But with this, what we see is we clients say this as well. They say, your guys, they finish at 5, but actually they're here till 6, 7 o'clock. They're finishing their work, and they genuinely want to continue
people
working.
Chipping in and out of hours.
They enjoy it, and because they know they're reaping the rewards of all the community stuff we do.
And people are happy to be available. That's what I saw in my business. Maybe you have someone on 24/7 call, or maybe they haven't got a certain experience that they need to do to handle that.
That's right.
They can reach out to people, and people are quite happy.
That's right.
They're not going, oh yeah, it's gone 5.
Exactly, because you've built a team. I mean, that's what a company is, right? It's a team of people at the end of the day. So, if you've built that team and they care about each other, like Tommy said, they don't see it as, oh, sorry, I'm clocked off now I'm offline. I mean, they might be chatting on Discord or whatever, or Teams, but they will just chip in and help each other and say, oh, I know what that fix is. I can help you out with that. And look, I will say this, there is again a caveat to this. You have to be careful on burnout and things like that as well. You don't want to put the expectation on people that we work all hours God gives. He does. I mean, he doesn't stop, this guy. Honestly, he's like, Sunday there, he's like, I'm just as bad. I call him. I'm like, I've got this idea. And I'm like, I'm on the phone. And he's like, no, it's fine. But you do have to be careful about that and conscious of that you don't want to make it an expectation that, okay, yeah, we all have to work all hours, because people have families. Respect their time as well equally. But you touched on it earlier. It's a two-way thing.
Give and take.
It is give and take. As long as those scales are balanced, as best they could be, can be, that's fine.
And I think if it's clear in the business what we're doing, what our top priorities are about people, that really informs how I answer a question. So as a leader, if I've got a question about doing X, Y, Z, it might even be giving someone an hour off to go to the doctors. It could be answering a customer. Should we do this for the customer or not? It empowers that answer.
It does.
Because what I see a lot of the time is people talk about the people first, the this, the that, or they want to move from a 2 million turnover business to a 10 million turnover business, but they don't change the behavior that was the 1 million turnover business. And the reason why they don't grow anymore is because the answers and the behaviours are the same as what they've always been.
They don't put their money where their mouth is, and that's this. Genuinely, I think that's it. You got to invest. Invest in these people. Always people. Training.
And change your behaviour. You know, you talked about your growth. You know, going from where you were 10 people to where you are today over the 18 years. That's got to be an intentional growth.
It is, yeah. And well, I'll be honest, it probably hasn't been, which is weird. I mean, we've never really had business plans, and you know, we've never gone, right, this is what we're doing, this is where we're going. I realise now how important that is, and I would say to any small business owner, any MSP, if you're starting out, get a plan day one. Sit down day one and decide where it is you're going, where you want to go, what you want to do, and set yourself a target. Okay, you know, might be one that you're not publicizing to everybody, but you're saying in the back of your mind, I want to get here. We never did it. We just organically grew. We were just having a good time, and the clients were joining.
Beers Thursday.
Let's go. Exactly. Yeah. Ching ching. 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you know, but that's what it was about. It was just having fun, enjoying it. Great.
But at some point you get to a level where you said, you're no longer 10 people. You've moved from this place where you know everyone, you know everyone's steps. You need processes, you need plans, you need structure. Otherwise, it's never going to grow. You're never going to get to where you want to get.
What I must say is, when I had my 5-year stint away, when I come back, it was a company, it was a business, a process, it had red tape. I couldn't do with yeehaw. And I think sometimes yeehaw is good, but
no pool table anymore. You've got a table tennis.
Yeah,
that's just disaster. Like
as you grow, it's so important. You know, but you know, remaining agile and nimble as a business is so important.
But having that plan gives you direction.
Yes.
It helps you to answer the yes and no's because you know what the plan is. But as a lot of MSP owners, including myself, that's boring. Like, I don't want to sit there and have a think about the plan when I ain't got time to do it.
Working on the business again and not in it.
You know, you've got to have a plan. You've got to know where you're going. I mean, my team constantly becker me about what's the 5-year plan, Dad? They just constantly keep doing it all the time because that's what's been engrossed into them.
And the other thing there as well is the again, going back to the team, going back to people first. As a leader, you have to get your vision, you know, trickled down. Everyone has to understand where the boat is going and what direction it's pointing in, and that's our job as leaders to do that. And it's so important because now you'll get an empowered team that's got clear goals and objectives, that they understand what the company goals and objectives are and where the company's going, and they know now that they actually play a key role in that journey.
Because without that, they're asking you to answer the question.
Yes.
Because they don't understand the answer. Right. Because they don't know where you're going.
Exactly.
So everything then leads up to the top, and that's the bottleneck.
Yeah.
Because you're not empowering the team.
Yeah. Well, that's why it's so important that we promote within, you know, it really is. And, you know, we haven't mentioned, have we, how long some of these teammates have actually been employed by IT Vet. You know, it's incredible. You know, I think, what was it? We worked it out the other day, SLT alone, I think there's 34 years between us. You know, that's just a director.
I was with someone last week and they'd worked at the business 44 years. Wow. The first job, and they were 60-odd-year-old getting ready to retire. Wow. One job the whole life. That just like never happens. It never happens, does it?
Well, that's what we want to set our team up to do. You know, we want them to be there forever, don't we? We want that to be there.
Oh, it'd be great if it is in this day and age. I know the averages have gone down massively now, and there's a huge churn, and it's like, I don't know, it's a couple of years, I think it is now on average that people are, you know, are in companies. But for us, yeah, definitely. Look, if you touched on it earlier, and if your company's growing, and creating opportunities, because you're growing, it obviously opens up new teams, new departments, new opportunities, and that person can grow within that organization. Brilliant, great, that's really good. If you're not, and you're kind of stagnating a little bit, because maybe you're working in the business is not on the business, and you're not doing the, you know, working on these things, and you're hitting that little bit of a ceiling, then yeah, okay, people will probably move on, because especially in the tech industry, they all want to work on the biggest networks and the shiny stuff, the 10 gig, the this, the that. Everyone's going to be looking for those things as well, but quite rightly so. But you just need to make sure you're doing your best to provide those.
The attitude of people coming in, and we had got a teammate, quite junior, come in, and he said to me, he said, "I want to be a director one day. I want to be a director in this business. I see this as my career until I retire," you know. And he'd gone through a number of different jobs before, and he hadn't found his kind of niche, and he come in, he said, "This is it. This is it. I want to stay. I'm where I want to be." And that's just a breath of fresh air.
Jonathan Edward, good friend of mine now. Most people know him as Bearded 365 guy. He did a podcast for us, a guest for us, and he had a really great phrase, which is, sales fixes lots of things.
Yeah.
You just mentioned growth.
Yeah.
How does growth link into people? Well, without opportunities, you will definitely have a ceiling and people will leave.
Correct.
So back to that growth and purposeful growth and planning growth and getting revenue through the door impacts the people conversation. Because unless we're growing at a certain pace, we're never going to open doors.
Yeah. And I think that, goes back to the business plan, right? And having some idea of where you're going in that direction, because then you're saying, right, we are going for, this is where we're going, where we want to get to. And this is our goal. And once you do that, you set it out, you let everybody know, everyone's understanding that's the journey we're on, then 100%. And I think don't overlook that word of mouth referral. I'm sure there's plenty of MSP owners listening to this now that will say, most of our business is through word of mouth referral, right? Hands down. I mean, if they're making it through sales and marketing, great, good luck to you. It doesn't normally work like that in our world. We're like accountants and solicitors, accountants or more so, but you build a relationship and trust with that accountant.
It's a big part of the business.
And they're with you for life, right?
Yeah.
And MSP for life, right? It's like an MSP is not just for Christmas. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's a little tagline.
Good tagline.
That's my turn.
Is it? Okay. Well, I just stole it. But no, I think
that's also the job of the entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
It's all our ideas.
It is all about this. But, I think that's important. I think that, those relationships we're building, again, back to that building meaningful relationships with that client, they will go on to tell other people what a good experience they've had. You want your brand to be out there, and it's a feeling. When people hear the name IT Vet, it's like, how do they feel when they hear your name? That is your sales and marketing engine. That is it right there. Okay, it's reactive because you never know when a door, I said this to Tommy the other day, we aren't phoning people, they're phoning us. It's great to get to that position. I certainly won't ever take it for granted as well. I think that's really important that you are humble and you say to yourself, you know what? I really appreciate that we've got here and we've got to where we are. I won't take that for granted. I know that it could easily go as soon as it came. Do you know what I mean? So, but you do have to keep working on that. And if you do keep focusing on that, you never know when that door might open and someone might call you up and then say, hey, Tommy, can you come and have a chat? We've got a new building we're taking over, or we've got a new
place.
Yeah, a new portfolio of offices that we want you to roll out some network into. And we're like, okay, great. We never planned for that. And then the operational teams have to,
pick it up.
Yeah, pick it up. But those sort of things as well, that is your sales and marketing engine. But it's still good to have a very clear vision and idea of where it is you're going and what it is you want to do. I think with the business, and do you want to branch out into Europe? Do you want to go into the States? Whatever it might be, have that idea in your mind, and then what you're going to do to get there,
That was a great conversation, guys. I'm sure the audience got a lot of key takeaways there. But what I want to do is sort of get a refresher from you guys. What's your key takeaways from this conversation?
Yeah, I think for me, and firstly, thanks for having us on. It's been really, really good. For me, I think we talked about business plans and having an intentional business plan to grow your business. I think for me, it's about make that business plan a people plan.
Tommy?
For me, it's so important to continue to build those meaningful relationships with our people who can then deliver the best about what we do to our customers.
Yeah. For myself, we talked about it before, but real big mantra of look after your people will look after the customers will look after the business, and it will grow because of that. And I think that's so powerful in the conversation we've had today. Yeah. Spending time with people is critical, and we need to make that time, as you said.
Well, thanks for joining us today, guys. Whether you was watching or listening, please make sure you like and subscribe to the video and listen out for any new podcasts that are coming up on the Scale Up podcast. And really thanks to the Scalable guys for having us.
Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode of Scale Up, don't forget to like and subscribe. If there are any topics that you would like to see on a future episode of Scale Up, please leave a comment below.